This series is meant to be watched in order. If you haven't seen the previous episodes, then we highly suggest you watch those first in order to get the most benefit. Please check the description below for the links to the other episodes. In the last episode, we saw the rise of sun worship in the ancient world, pun intended. We also saw that there has been a common thread of sun worship that has existed throughout recorded history. And we found that the Catholic Church embraced these symbols, as is evident in the amount of sun imagery in their churches. We also found that the world is coming together under the banner of climate change, and many are being deceived into embracing a religion while having good motives to save the planet. And based on the COP27 logo, this movement will be related to sun worship. However, it's not going to be the sun worship in the classical sense, but as we mentioned previously, reverence for the sun took a different form over 1700 years ago and walked right into the church. And whether you realize it or not, the Catholic Church's influence over the world is going to play a major role in the institution of the one world religion, which we can also call the New World Order. Now, I'm going to tell you a secret about the New World Order, especially as it relates to the mark of the beast, and I don't want you to forget it. Most people don't really understand what it is, and there are all kinds of weird ideas out there, but I'm going to tell you exactly what the New World Order is right now. The New World Order is simply the resurrection or reemergence of the Old World Order, and that Old World Order is, drumroll please, the Holy Roman Empire. Or to put it simply, the New World Order will be a worldwide state-supported religion, and the only true source of how to understand the Old World Order and the New World Order are the books of Daniel and Revelation. To see this more clearly, we need to take a moment to find out what the Old World Order actually looked like. While we don't have the time to explain it in detail, I'll try to do it as quickly as possible. In the books of Daniel and Revelation, symbols of beasts are used to represent kingdoms or powers, just like the eagle and the bear in our day. There are two beasts mentioned in Revelation 13. The first beast represents the Holy Roman Empire that ruled and persecuted during the Dark Ages. This was the Old World Order. Everyone looked to the Pope as the moral authority, and then the nations of Western Europe carried out his policies. Why, you might ask? Because they were terrified that if they did not do the church's bidding in this life, then they would be sent to hell or purgatory in the next life. And so just like it will be when the New World Order is implemented, if you didn't go along with the policies of the church, then there would be hell to pay, pun intended. Eventually, the church lost its influence as Revelation 13 verse 3 predicted that this beast representing the papacy would be wounded, which means that it would lose its authority from the old world. But the verse also says that the wounded beast would be healed, which means the influence that it lost would be regained. Basically, what we're seeing here is that once again they would have full influence over the policies and laws of the nations of the New World. Revelation 17 verse 13 states that the nations of the world would eventually be of one mind, meaning that they would be united nations. Pun intended for the third time, and I promise that's the last one. It goes on to say that these united nations will give their power and authority to the beast, aka the papacy. This is why you see the figurehead of this power in the middle of every major worldwide development. This is why you see the Pope addressing Congress. The church is regaining its power and influence. The old world order is making a comeback. The wound is being healed. The nations are uniting and looking to the papacy as the moral influence. So what does this have to do with COP27, Sunday worship, and the coming one world religion? We can find this out by looking at how the old world order came into existence. Basically, the Roman Empire was declining rapidly during the reign of Emperor Constantine, and in order to try to hold the empire together, he made a shrewd political move in an attempt to unite the pagans and the Christians. Essentially, he saw that the worshippers of Mithra, the sun god, were worshiping on the first day of the week. He also saw that Christians who were trying to set themselves apart from the Jews were having festivals on Sunday. Seeing this commonality as an opportunity to unite both sides, he made this declaration on March 7th in 321 AD, and it reads as follows: "On the venerable day of the sun, let the magistrates and people residing in cities rest, and let all workshops be closed. A day of rest for all people in honor of the sun, hence the name Sun Day, or the Day of the Sun." In essence, this was the first Sunday law that required all people to rest and not work on that day. Eventually, the church, seeking to find unity with the sun worshippers, presumed to make Sunday a holy day. So now Sunday was no longer just a day of rest, but it became a day of rest and worship that was dictated by the church and enforced by the state. This is how sun worship walked into the church. A holy day was instituted, along with baptizing all of the pagan symbols and idols that a Christian church should never have embraced. This hybrid church of Christianity and paganism became the official state religion, thus creating the Holy Roman Empire. This, my friends, was the old world order, and the new world order will look exactly the same. It's simply a reality where the church controls the state. Or to put it even more plainly, it's when religious entities gain influence and control over the government. And when this happens, these powers will institute one world religion and try to force every man, woman, child on earth to reverence the day of the sun by keeping Sunday as a holy day. Now that we know what the New World Order will be, let's find out how this will tie in with climate change and that thing most people know as the mark of the beast. How exactly is the sun, or I should say, the Sunday worship we talked about in the previous episode, going to be forced on the world? Well, it's pretty simple. The mark of the beast is exactly what it says it is, the mark of the beast. Or since we know that the papacy is the beast, then we should really be saying the mark of the papacy. I'm going to show what the mark of the beast/papacy is, and then I'm going to show you how it's connected to the climate change movement. So let's ask the beast what his mark is and allow him to answer for himself. In a letter from C.F. Thomas, Chancellor of Cardinal Gibbons, on October 28, 1895, he had this to say about the day of rest known in the Bible as the seventh-day Sabbath. It says, of course the Catholic Church claims that the change was her act. This is talking about the change of Sabbath to Sunday. And the act is a mark of her ecclesiastical power and authority in religious matters. Did you catch that? The Catholic Church's claim is that the change of the Sabbath day of rest, followed by billions around the world, is a, and I quote, mark of her power and authority in religious matters. In other words, the change of the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday is the beast's mark. It's the mark of the beast, the same beast that Daniel 7 verse 25 says would change the times and laws of the Most High. Now, before we move forward, I want to make it very clear that no one has received the mark of the beast just yet. That's because at this time it is not being forced on anyone. But as you're about to see in a moment, it will be urged on everyone soon enough, and everybody will have to make a choice regarding whether or not they will support this state-sanctioned one-world religion. Just to make this point clear, I want you to see a statement from The Great Controversy, page 449. It says, "It is not until the issue is thus plainly set before the people, and they are brought to choose between the commandments of God and the commandments of men, that those who continue in transgression will receive the mark of the beast. It's only when this day is forced on us that we will have to choose between God's commandments and man's commandments. Now, we're not there yet, but you need to know how we're going to get there. So let's start to find out. We've seen through this series that the climate change movement has been gaining more and more traction as people are getting desperate to save the planet. This movement will provide the motivation for the entire world to get on board for a common cause. We've also seen that the Pope of Ecology, Pope Francis, has been at the forefront of this movement to provide the moral direction for this cause. And in section 237 of Laudato Si, his encyclical letter on care for the planet, this was one of the solutions that he connected with the climate change movement. He says, and I quote, "On Sunday, our participation in the Eucharist has special importance. Sunday, like the Jewish Sabbath, is meant to be a day which heals our relationships with God, with ourselves, with others, and with the world. Sunday is the day of the resurrection, the first day of the new creation, whose first fruits are the Lord's risen humanity, the pledge of the final transfiguration of all created reality. It also proclaims man's eternal rest in God. In this way, Christian spirituality incorporates the value of relaxation and festivity. And so the day of rest, centered on the Eucharist, sheds its light on the whole week and motivates us to greater concern for nature and the poor." Are you seeing the connection? In the mind of Pope Francis, a day of rest will provide humanity with an opportunity to heal relationships with God, others, and the earth. and to also motivate us to greater concern for nature. The religious and non-religious people around the world are already starting to respond to these calls for a day of rest on Sunday. And one such example is an initiative named the Green Sabbath Project. On their website, it says the following about taking a day of rest. The question is asked, is there nothing you can do about the environment? Nothing may be one of the best things you can do. One day, every week, do nothing. It goes on to say, take a weekly day of rest. Make it a real Sabbath for you, for Earth. Don't drive, don't shop, don't build. This idea was reiterated in a recent opinion piece from Newsweek by Yosef Abramowitz, the same Yosef that smashed the 10 climate commandment tablets during a gathering while COP27 was taking place. And this is what he had to say about one of his 10+1 climate commandments. Keep the Sabbath. Emissions are down 30% over the Sabbath every week in Israel and almost zeroed out on Yom Kippur, the Jewish Day of Atonement, the holiest of the year. A global weekly non-carbon day of rest could reduce emissions of the world by a seventh and can be observed by different faith communities on different days. I hope you're seeing the trend. People are saying to themselves, if we stopped moving for one day a week, we could cut emissions by a seventh, which, if my math serves me correctly, is 14.29%. And in their minds, this could save the planet. There's a growing sentiment that we need a global weekly Sabbath in order to give the planet a rest. And you can see a few examples of the growing movement right here. Here, here, and finally, here.
We, as God's people, are called to give thanks and to care for creation. Through the ministry of Blessed Earth, we continue to honor the Sabbath day, the day set apart in the 10 Commandments for us to remember God's dominion over all things and for our share in caring for all that God has made. Just as wise farmers let the land rest before planting, we, as wise followers of Jesus Christ, are wise to honor a seventh day and to rest so that we might be renewed. Our emphasis on the honoring of Sabbath and caring for the earth are intertwined in a marvelous theological way. Let us give thanks as we look out today and see the beauty of the earth. Let us care for all that God has made.
Now wait a minute. I know some of you may be thinking that this has nothing to do with worship or religion. These rest days are simply a chance to take time off for friends and family and the environment, which is a good thing. The fact of the matter is that this push to try to provide a solution to climate change by instituting a day of rest will just be the first step towards the day turning into a day of worship. Unfortunately, despite the attempts that are being made to fix the planet, the natural disasters will continue to increase. People will continue to get more and more desperate. And finally, the call will be made that it is really God that is punishing us and that we need to get back to Him. As a matter of fact, it's probably going to sound a little something like this.
But invoking God's wrath seems to be in vogue these days. New Orleans Mayor Ray Nagin had this to say the other day from his devastated city.
Surely God is mad at America. He's sending hurricane after hurricane after hurricane, and it's destroying and putting stress on this country.
That's just a precursor to what we are going to be hearing in the future, as the call will be made that we need to get back to God. And the solution presented will be to honor God by mandating a one-world religion and forcing people to worship on the day of the sun to try to appease God. People are responding to the Pope's call in Laudato Si for a day of rest. This will be what the New World Order looks like. It will be a modernized version of the Old World Order, with all of the mandates and coercion of the Old World Order. These changes and movements are going rapidly, and all of us need to understand exactly where this is heading. That's why in the next and final episode of this series, we will find out how the increasing natural disasters will drive people to mandate a day of worship. And as I said, everyone will be involved in this issue. So if you haven't done so yet, subscribe and share so that you and others can find out the details of how all of this will play out. Hope to see you again in the next and final episode.